Let's get on with an adventure through the Elm Street and the Sunday school movement. And yes, this is an anniversary year, several anniversary years. In fact, as we go along through this brief account of the inspiration of the Sunday school movement in the Christian church, especially Moravian church. Now, it is attributed to Robert Raikes to come up with in England to come up with the idea of Sunday schools for instruction of children on Sunday, so that they can learn more of the Holy Scripture. Certainly, that movement blossomed in the late 18th century and early 1800s, as we will discover. But let's reach back just a little bit to an earlier Protestant church known as the Unitas Fratrum, the ancient Moravian church, going back to 1457. I apologize, I don't have nice photographs from that time, but this is a picture from one of our hymnals. It is for instruction of children. So, Moravian Church was instructing its children in what? Well, the first in our Confession of 1535, which Martin Luther was so gracious as to have it printed, our Confession of 1535 starts out with Article 1, the Holy Scriptures. First, we all with unanimous consent teach the Holy Scriptures. Article 1. Well, truth is that if you have separated from yourself from a human being with the office of Pope to instruct you in the faith, then you had better have something else, like maybe Holy Scripture. Martin Luther came up with the smaller catechism in 1529, I believe it was, just a few years before we asked him to publish our Confession of 1535. Article 2 of our Confession, the Catechism, teaching children. Sunday school. One of our bishops in the ancient unity, whose name Daniel Cruz could easily pronounce, but I'm afraid I would botch it. One of our bishops was instructed by Unity Synod in the, I think, early 1600s to please come up with a compendium of a theological dissertation on the Moravian church. He dragged his heels. Several synods went by until finally he produced something, a little devotional booklet for morning, noon, and night for the household staff as well, and the pets, please, not to mention all the children, instruction in our faith as defined in the Holy Scripture. Robert Raikes' idea of Sunday school movement, of combining efforts, of having publications of tracts, of uplifting Christian stories, and so on and so forth, caught fire not only in Great Britain, But here in the United States, in the 18 teens, it blossomed in Philadelphia in 1817 with the Philadelphia Sunday and Adult School Union, which the next decade became the American Sunday School Union as we knew it for the next 100 years or so. But that early on, 1817 in Philadelphia, was actually preceded here in Wachovia, our Moravian land here in North Carolina, by efforts of one of our Moravians here in Salem by the name of Gottlieb Schober. Gottlieb Schober wanted ever so much to be a minister of the Moravian Church. Moravian Church said, "Thank you very much, but you need to be our lawyer for our 50-odd year lawsuit over the mulberry fields up toward the Wilkesboros." That's a different lecture. We'll leave that for maybe next year. On the other hand, Gottlieb Schober was not somebody to be told no to, so he went out and became a Lutheran pastor of a church about 4 miles to the south of here known as Hopewell Lutheran Church, or Pastor Ripple's or Riddle's church, Hopewell, south of Salem. And a quote from the Salem Diary here for 1816, September 8th. "It has often been wished that the children..." Now, Pastor Schober had been conducting Sunday school, but he needed help. He was in charge of several pastorates, and it's hard for a minister to be in several places at the same time. So, in the Salem Diary, it had often been wished that the children of our German neighbors might learn to read German so they might be able to read the Bible in their own language, Martin Luther's Bible. It was a pleasure, therefore, when teachers from our boarding school, that's the Sisters of the Sisters House here in Salem, felt moved to begin a Sunday school, as has already been done in many places in Europe and America, to the great advantage and blessing of many children and young people. This has also been done in Bethlehem in Pennsylvania, 90 miles north of Philadelphia, with the Sunday School Union beginning to arise. The first attempt here in Wachovia will be made outside Salem, please, not inside, and will take in all young people and children who come. So today a beginning was made by two teachers at a Lutheran church 4 miles south of Salem. The Lutheran pastor, Gottlieb Schober, of this church, having commended the plan to his hearers in general and especially the young people and children. 25 children and young people of both sexes attended, and later it was apparent that our neighbors and the children liked the enterprise and accepted the service with gratitude. Oh, isn't that wonderful? Here in Salem, the next year, we thought that it was such a great success down at Hopewell, let us start a Sunday school in Salem. Some time ago, this is Salem Diary again, April 20th, 1817, 200th anniversary. Some time ago, the wish was expressed that a Sunday school might be begun here in Salem. Today, this came to pass. So 200-year anniversary of Sunday schools in Salem. Today this came to pass, and at 1 o'clock it was opened in a proper and solemn manner. A considerable number of children came, and several single sisters from this town will teach them. The school will be held in the little saal of the church. I imagine that was the saal in the Gemeinhaus. And instruction will be given in reading German and English. The children were divided among a number of sisters from the choir house and several older girls. May the Lord lay his blessing upon the enterprise. What the diary does not say is that this was a Sunday school well, it does say it, excuse me, I overlooked it, that the Salem for the benefit of the poor children from the surrounding country, in the area, the neighborhood of Salem. Not the children of Salem itself. They were getting their own Christian education in the town girls' school and in the Salem boys' school. And I must say it is a thorough education they got. So what Moravian church had the first Sunday school here in the southern province? Any guesses? Surprise, surprise. Friedland. In 1819, Friedland opened up with a Sunday school when the members of the church began the school. Not necessarily the minister, but the members. This is very much a lay member endeavor. And the records say it was largely attended. Sunday school blossomed then, and in fact the impact of the publications of the Sunday School Union, American Sunday School Union, flowed down from Philadelphia and the north, and quite soon we had a number of Sunday schools that all associated with the American Sunday School Union. Friedberg, for example, on September 30th, 1827, began a Sunday school called the Charity Sunday School Society on South Fork, auxiliary of, yes indeed, American Sunday School Union. Then later, 1 year later, the Stokes County branch of the American Sunday School Union was formed in 1828. It included Charity, that's Friedberg, Spanish Grove, which is the earlier portion of what is today Olivet, and Bethabara as member Sunday schools. The interesting thing is that it seems that Salem continued for quite some time as a relying on its boys' school and the town girls' school to provide the Sunday school education for the children of the Moravians of what we call today Home Moravian Church. We did have one further outreach in the 1820s. In the 1820s, at the foot of Church Street, the log church building at the foot of Church Street, African American church building, begun in 1822. The log church erected and had first services December of 1823, but then later that decade, members of the Salem Church up Church Street began teaching Sunday school classes there. And I must confess, one of my heroes of the Moravian Church is Maria Steiner Zdenka. She was wife of a minister, Brother Zdenka, who had served in the missions in Canada at New Fairfield, but he was called down to Wachovia to serve in our churches here. Maria Steiner Zdenka devoted herself in her later years to teaching at the log church of what is today St. Philip's Moravian Church, 1820s. Salem's own church building, to home Moravian Church today, was among the last to have a Sunday school. In fact, Bethania, which was also a holdout in 1833, started its Sunday school. Home Church began its Sunday school in 1849. That's relatively late. But Sunday schools can and were used to begin churches. New Philadelphia Church, for example. The New Philadelphia Church, New Philadelphia Church, Mount Bethel up in the mountains, Macedonia begun. Kernersville was established as a church itself, but it's celebrating its 100th anniversary this year, 150th anniversary, November 9th, 1867. So we congratulate Kernersville on its 150th anniversary. And then a flock of churches: Freeze Memorial, Olivet, Providence, Oak Grove, Calvary, Union Cross, Wachovia Arbor, which no longer is. We'll let people search for that one. Fulp, Fairview, Mizpah. Many of these are churches begun by lay workers within the broader base of Sunday schools. And then there is Elm Street. I heard the name Bill Cranford mentioned out here. He has his signature in the booklet over there of the Young People's Constitution of the Young People's Union of Elm Street Sunday School. No, Bill Cranford isn't that old to have started it. But where was the Elm Street Sunday School? Here it is. Where was this Elm Street Sunday School? You'd think Elm Street. Yes, you're right. Except, well, the name got changed back to Factory Row. That picture has you standing right here in the middle of what is today Academy Street. And here is Factory Road. So up on a hill, on a rise, above, on the east side of Factory Row, Elm Street, please, that's a much nicer name, was the rather large Elm Street Sunday School. This one is their brand new building of, what was it? 1870s. It began in a school building on a corner of Elm Street and what at the time was called Old Shallowford Road. Now, I don't know whether it was this corner, northeast corner, this corner, northwest. I don't know where that school building was. I'll let somebody else come along and search for it. We have a delightful commentary from the newspaper, mostly local, by Miss Mary Wiley. How many remember Mary Wiley? Oh, yes, indeed. Daughter of Calvin H. Wiley, teacher for many generations of English and at Reynolds High School. Mrs. Harriman, my English teacher, was taught by Miss Mary. You could see Miss Mary walking along on Runnymede Road in her retirement, but she was always adored as in her work as an educator. So in her mostly local, in the Twin Cities Sentinel newspaper, Miss Mary Wiley wrote on April 14th, she was remembering dates in April, important dates in April. April 14th, 1867, 150 years ago, the Moravian Elm Street Sunday School was organized with 28 pupils and 5 teachers in the Free School building. There's that school building on one side or the other of Elm Street and Shallowford. In 1882, got my date, 1882, the chapel was built. It's a rather extensive chapel to house the growing school, and it continued to grow to the point that it was there were only 6 churches that had Sunday schools larger. You can pretty much name them. The inner core of Salem congregation, Home Church, Calvary, Christ, Fairview, not East Salem, or later Freeze Memorial. So that's 4, 5. Friedberg, of course. It's the only church that, another lecture, another time. And then there was the Academy Sunday School being taught by Howard Rontaler. So you'd better be sure to show up there if you're one of the Academy students. Now this is listing for statistics for 1911. Oh, and finally we have, of course, after those larger Sunday schools, we have the Elm Street Sunday School with 177 scholars, total, including the teachers, 198 members of that Sunday school, 1911. And then it came to an abrupt end. Thanks to Winston-Salem southbound. Speaking of abrupt, from February in the newspaper, February 1912. I think this is the Winston-Salem. It's the Sentinel newspaper again. Morning newspaper doesn't have any news. Commentary. a deal which will be a surprise to many readers of the Sentinel was consummated today when Mr. B.J. Fole, who's B.J. Fole? Huh? Salem band director, B.J. Fole. His White House is up there on the far side of the graveyard. When Mr. B.J. Fole and associates representing the southbound railroad, there it is, crossing Salem Creek. Yeah, you know that bridge. You see it practically every day. Get off of US 52. Southbound Railroad purchased from the Board of Trustees of Salem Congregation the lot and chapel on Elm Street, known as the Elm Street Sunday School property. The same is needed by the railroad people for the proposed branch line up Tar Branch. That's the Salem Strollway, paralleling the Salem Old Salem Road, going up to, well, actually it used to go underneath First Street to the tobacco manufacturing company where BB&T is today. I think that's Brown and Williamson. I'm not sure about that. It was indeed a surprise. They were going to hold Elm Street Sunday School. Almost 200 members of Elm Street Sunday School were going to hold their anniversary, April 8, their 45th anniversary. 45th anniversary on April 14th, 1912. The note, I don't know whose handwriting this is, I can hardly read it, sold to Southbound Railroad. On May 19th, marched over to the home church, meeting separately until Rontaler Memorial Building was completed, then united with Home Church Sunday School. On May 19th, they marched up Academy Street with banners flying and singing as they came to Home Church. After the deal had been consummated, let's see, Elm Street Sunday School decision was to combine with the Home Church Sunday School. The money realized from the sale of the present building and lot on Elm Street may be applied to the erection of the new contemplated Sunday School annexed to the Home Church. All of the above approved by the Central Board of Elders approved this one, not just trustees. It was a done deal. And so what do we have of Elm Street Sunday School today? There it is. That rise right there off of Factory Road, there it is right there. I'm standing on Academy Street here, and yes indeed, yep, there it is, it even says so. And we have one more remnant of Elm Street Sunday School. One more remnant. Recognize it, anyone? This tablet commemorates the work of Elm Street Moravian Sunday School, organized April 14th, 1867. So I'll help you out, Sarah. There. And conducted for 40, it ought to say 45 years, under the 46 years, because it was an extra year. We'll find out why. Years under the manifest blessing of God at the northeast corner of Elm and Academy Streets, well, a little bit up Elm Street. And Academy Streets consolidated with the Salem Home Sunday School the end of next year, 1913. So, recognize the plaque. Someday, go to the home church office, walk in the door there, the central door of central door of the Ron Toller Memorial Building. There's the church office, and on the wall on the east side of that vestibule going up the stairs is that plaque. Memory of Elm Street Sunday School, begun 150 years ago this year. Now, we have next month, we're back to the second Thursday of the month. May 11th, we shall have Nola Reed Canausa, a director of the Moravian Music Foundation, asking all of us, have we heard it all yet? And I'll bet you all know the answer. Not nearly. And she will have us hear even more. I want to thank you all. Hope to see you all here May 11th. Thank you.